All right, we're going to go over the garden problem, activity 2, and studying soil scientifically. Again, looking at the KWL chart, you should have written down what you know about the garden and what you want to know about the garden. I've got the after reading part filled out for you. Um, and again, you are filling, this is the chart in your notebook. That's what it should look like. Now it looks a little bit different on my screen because I'm actually presenting it to you in a different way. So this is what mine looks like. So just know that again, I'm referring to this sheet here, slide 6 in your notebook that you should have filled out. Okay. So I don't want to type all of what you should have written down in your, what you know about the garden, what you want to know, especially what I want to know about the garden. A lot of that, is what, it's your opinion. It's what you want to know. Okay. But I'll give you some ideas, what you should have had here. In this section here, what I know about the garden. Um, Number one, in that little paragraph that we read at the very beginning, talked about there was a garden on the school property. There was a problem with the garden. New plants died after they were planted, and that the science class is going to study the garden. So again, I'm talking about this section here. You should have that. You should have had that filled out before you did the reading, and where I'm getting that information from. Again, I talked about this in the first video when we first started this. It was just this little blurb that we read right here. Okay, this is where we got all the information to fill out what you know about the garden. Okay, so again, I'll go over it. There is a garden on the school property. There's a problem with the garden. New plants died after they were planted, and the science class is going to study the garden. Again, all that should have been listed here. All right, what I want to know about the garden. Now, again, this is stuff that, you had to come up with on your own, but just give you some ideas, some good questions I think are good. Why did the plants die? Did they get enough water? Does the garden get enough sunlight? Is the soil good? Where exactly is the school garden? What can be planted in the garden, flowers or vegetables? What kind of plants were planted there already? And did the farming history affect the garden? Okay. All right. So then after you did this, you're supposed to do the reading. Okay. And again, the reading is this right here. Okay. Activity 2, not very long reading, 2 pages, and that's it. So after you did that, you're supposed to come back and work on what you learned about the garden from the reading. Okay. So here's some of the things that I have. You could have some other stuff listed, but this is what I have. The school and the garden are on land that was once farmland. The farmer grew cotton on this farm. Many of the plants have been planted in the garden and died. The garden gets sunlight, lots of sunlight, and is hot with an average noontime temperature of 21 degrees Celsius or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, that is a typo. Let me correct this, boys and girls. Or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, let me back up. Number one, I don't think that's hot. I don't think 70 degrees is hot, but that's what the book has. All right, the soil is dry and sandy. One neighbor is growing plants in a soil of a different color. The soil has been watered at least once. Plants need water, air, sunlight, and soil. And the soil could be a problem. Okay? All right. Now, we're going to go over evidence or opinion statements. Okay? I think I did the first 2 with you the other day, but we're going to head and do them again. And to do that, I'm going to go half screen. All right. Number 1, students observed that the soil felt dry and sandy. That is an evidence statement, and it's evidence based on a direct observation. They were able to directly observe through sight and touch that the soil felt dry and sandy. That's why it is not an opinion statement. Okay. Number 2, Ms. Clayson is sure that plants can grow and survive in the school garden. We said the other day that is an opinion statement. And it's an opinion statement because it has no support. No support at all. No plants have survived yet. Okay, so Ms. Clayson cannot state that as fact or evidence. Number 3, the average temperature in the garden is 21 degrees Celsius or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. That is an evidence statement. It's evidence because it's based on limited measurements of 5 days. Okay, so the students observed the temperature for 5 days. They averaged it out. That's why it is an evidence statement. Number 4, the old farm used up everything in the soil. Okay, evidence or opinion, that is an opinion statement. And it's an opinion statement because one parent states his opinion, but does not provide any measurable evidence to support it. Number 5, the best plants for a garden are flowers. Evidence or opinion? Okay, that is an evidence statement. Or I'm sorry, opinion statement. It's an opinion statement because it has no factual support. Some people may prefer other plants, like vegetables. Number 6, based on the class data, there's enough sunlight in the garden for plants to grow. That is, what do you think? That is an evidence statement. Every year this always gets a lot of people. Here's why. It's based on a limited measurement of 5 days. Okay? Number 7, the soil next door looks different from the soil in the school garden. Evidence or opinion? That is evidence. And it's evidence, again, based on direct observation. Number 8, a student points out that the dry soil means the soil doesn't have enough soil or enough water for plants to grow. So a student points out that the dry soil means the soil doesn't have enough water for the plants to grow. That is an opinion statement. And it's an opinion statement because it's likely to be true for some plants, but not based on particular plant requirements versus measurement of soil. Okay, so again, I just went over these evidence and opinion statements that were in your notebook. So make sure you have this filled out. A lot of people lost points when I looked at these notebooks because you guys aren't completing these activities. Okay, so these have to be done. So make sure you have that filled out correctly. All right, let's go over the analysis questions. So again, the analysis questions are the questions 1 through 3 that you should have written or typed in your answer in these spots here. Now, every year I always get, do I have to have exactly what you have down? Like, and in a normal year when we're in class, I don't give you time to write all this down, and I don't want you to pause it and try to type all this down or write all this down. I just want to make sure you have the gist, okay? Because these answers that the book gives are long and drawn out, and I'll kind of highlight some things that I definitely want you to have, but I don't want you to feel like you have to have everything that I have listed, okay? All right, question number 1. The reading gave evidence and opinions about the garden. What is the difference between scientific evidence and opinion? Scientific evidence is unbiased data or information that is gathered by direct observation and is reproducible. This means that someone else could gather similar data in similar circumstances. In some cases, reputable sources, that means trustworthy sources, can provide such evidence since it is assumed that the evidence is independently reproducible. Okay, so here's the gist I want you to have. Scientific evidence is unbiased data or information gathered by direct observation and is reproducible. Period. You don't need to have the rest of that. Opinion is the view someone takes about a certain issue based on his or her own judgment, often without the support of any factual evidence. That's basically what I want you to have for that, okay? An informed opinion may be based on evidence. However, another person may have a different opinion based on the same evidence. Boys and girls, I always say this. This is what makes us human, okay? We all have opinions. We all see things differently. We all come from different backgrounds. And it's okay. It's okay to have different opinions about something, like presidential election and politics. I know that there may be some of you that are on one side and some of you that are on the other. Okay. What I don't like is that we demonize people who feel differently than we do. And that is wrong. We shouldn't be doing that in this country. Okay. As humans, we all have our own beliefs. We all have our own biases. And it's okay. It's okay to see things differently from other people. So, in here, in class, when we get to class, when we have these discussions, I always tell you that, if someone shares an opinion that you don't agree with, that you disagree with, and you may even strongly disagree with it, it's okay to disagree, but you cannot mistreat someone because of that. It's not right. Okay? All right. So anyway, sorry, get off my soapbox. Let's move on. Now this is question number 2. Your aunt tells you that she gets cold when the temperature falls below 60 degrees Celsius. Oops. I should have said that. When it falls below 60 degrees, does she mean degrees Celsius or degrees Fahrenheit? How do you know? She is referring to degrees Fahrenheit. If she were referring to degrees Celsius, the temperature would be over 20 degrees higher than the normal body temperature, which is too hot for someone to even survive. Okay, I do want you to have that. I do want you to make sure that you have that written out. Okay? Question 3. Why do you think plants won't grow in the garden at Chris's school? Support your ideas with evidence from the reading. Now, please pay attention to how this question is answered and how much writing is involved. Here's why I bring this up. We're going to have graded analysis questions that you will submit for a lab grade. And you must answer them fully and completely in order to get a good score. And every year I always have people that don't believe me on this, if you ever answer a graded analysis question in 1 or 2 sentences, I'm telling you right now, you're going to get it handed back to you incomplete. Okay? You cannot answer these graded analysis questions in a 1 or 2 sentence response. Okay? So please make sure it will save you a lot of time, a lot of heartache if you just trust me on this and you look and see, how long this answer to this question is. It's what I'm looking for when you answer these graded analysis questions. All right. So why do you think plants won't grow in the garden at Chris's school? Support your ideas with evidence from the reading. Okay. I think the problem with the garden is that there's not enough water. Okay. And this is an opinion, right? The soil felt dry and sandy to the class. Chris saw someone watering the plants next door and they looked healthy. There is no evidence that anyone watered the plants in the garden before. The class observed that there's enough sun. One of the parents thinks the soil is good, but that is just an opinion. Okay? Now, you could have anything listed there. There's no right or wrong answer to this as long as you have more than a couple sentences written. Okay? This is a question that's asking for your opinion backed up with some evidence from the reading. Okay? And this is just what the book put. I think the problem with the garden is that there's not enough water. The soil felt dry and sandy to the class. Chris saw someone watering the plants next door and they looked healthy. There's no evidence that anyone watered the plants in the garden before. Class observed that there's enough sun. One of the parents thinks the soil is good, but that is just an opinion. All right, boys and girls, that is it for the analysis questions. I do want to show you something that I think is very, very interesting, and it is this map here of the United States, and it says farmland in the United States. Now, this was taken 20 years ago. So this is the USDA, National Resources Conservation Service, National Resource Conservation Service back in 2000, okay? It would be interesting to see an updated map. Unfortunately, I don't know if I can find one. May try to Google it, or you can maybe Google it. But this is very interesting. Now, if you don't know anything about geography here is the state of Ohio, okay? And we are located in this section of the state of Ohio. So, is it any wonder, that you see all the black dots there, right? Because literally, if you here at the middle school, you go outside, what's to the left and the right of you? Farmland, right? You go to Indiana, what do you see? Lots and lots of farmland, okay? Now, I do want to point out some features to you, though. Notice that in this area here, not a lot of farmland. And again, if you're good with geography, this is the Appalachian Mountains, okay? Notice through Colorado here, this is Colorado. Not a lot of farmland. Why not? Well, here is the Rocky Mountains. And then you got, look in this area here, not a lot of farmland. Well, why? A lot of this is desert area. Florida is also interesting. Not a lot of farmland in Florida. Okay, mainly because the water table in Florida is pretty high. It means water is, if you dig down into the ground, you will hit water very carefully. So it's harder for them to grow plants or crops that need deep roots. And they devote, is that even a word? Anyway, sorry about that. If they devote a lot of their farm or a lot of their land to other crops, right? Like citrus, they grow a lot of oranges in Florida. Okay, pretty interesting. Okay, notice through here, man, look how peppered that is. Okay, that's Mississippi River going all the way down to New Orleans there, Louisiana. Okay, so pretty cool. So again, each dot, if you read this map here, represents 25,000 acres of farmland. All right, definitions again: metric system, scale for measuring temperature in which the freezing temperature of water is set at 0 and the boiling temperature of water is set as 100. That is known as Celsius. Evidence is observations or data to support a statement, hypothesis, or point of view. An observation is any description or measurement gathered by the senses. An opinion is a personal belief, not necessarily supported by the facts. All right, boys and girls, have a great day.